Hello again. Ever since the advent or the inception of Broward Astronomy LLC, for which I'm the managing member, I've been looking for a public astronomical observing site. Not an observatory, just like a good place to set up a bunch of telescopes and let the public come by and look through them. And so I've been working with different organizations, different governmental agencies at a variety of levels to find one. And as the saying goes, Eureka! This week I had some success. So that's what we'll talk about. So as I say, I've been looking for about 5 years for this, but it's not just like any open field. It has to have certain capabilities, and it's so that the public can either look through the eyepiece, or if somebody brings along a smart telescope, they can look at it on a computer display, or if they bring a really smart telescope, maybe one of these telescopes where you load an app on your mobile and then you can see what that telescope is seeing, kind of stuff. But the governmental organizations that have been trying to work through, they want multi-million-dollar liability insurance riders and annual certificates, which that's over $1,000 a year. Or they want special use permits that, depending upon, are you expecting 20 members of the public or 1,000 members of the public? Well, if you're expecting more than 300 members of the public, you have to have police on site. You have to have emergency service like ambulances, and given that many people, you have to pay for post cleanup services. Basically, you have to put down a security deposit. And if it's a big enough event with enough heads up, then they probably want to do a publicity campaign for it, which is going to cost that government agency money. And they want to know what your minimums and your maximums are. And yeah, it's a lot of stuff that's just non-starters. For members of the public, they want to know that they can easily get there, find a place that's, either free parking or cheap parking, and have nearby restrooms. Having restaurants nearby would be a plus, but not necessarily. And you want a site that, if you're going to do nighttime astronomy, there's no security requirement for you to put in floodlights, because that would be counterproductive. But in working with the various agencies, I think I finally found an organization that I can work with that we're going to have to try them and test them. The real reason I sort of re-upped and started doing the search more vigorously is the nova, the recurring nova every 80 years of T Corona Borealis, is overdue. It should have happened the year before or last year or maybe sometime in the fall of this year. So I wanted to get all of, as the saying goes, all of my ducks in a row before I worry about the event. I want to get a site reserved. And because we don't know when the nova is going to actually take place, there's no upfront notification. So there's no marketing promotional campaign on a specific date that you can set up. It'll just be reaching out grassroots style via social media once the event occurs. So here's how I negotiated. From prior experience with special use permits and liability insurance, I nixed Broward County, the parks, state of Florida, both parks and the water management district areas like Harold Campbell, and the National Park Service like Big Cypress, because they all want SUPs and liability insurance. So I said, well, I know they're not known for their dark sites, but I'll try the City of Fort Lauderdale Parks Department for a specific location that has an open sky. There's going to be some light pollution, but hey, I've seen worse. I'd like to have 24/7 access, but if we can get it to at least sometime beyond sunset, that would be good. So I reached out, made a contact, explained my goals, that it's personal telescopes, ad hoc notice. There's no marketing campaign. I offered to do a test run, which turned out was not requested. It was understood what we wanted to do. So, okay, I realized that there would be rules that would have to be obeyed. Like, you don't just leave your car parked at the site when there's designated loading zones. You obey the 20-minute rule. You go park somewhere, you pay for parking. And when you're done, you clean up. You, as kind of the host, clean up for all the members of the public that left stuff behind, expecting somehow the city to clean up. And you also realize that if there's no special use permit, the site's not exclusive to you. You have to share with others. But it surprised me. My contact said, yeah, I know what you're going to do. If you're not looking for an exclusive use, then I don't think you need a special use permit, and there would be no cost for you to do it. Great. But I would have to respect any conflicting special use permits. So if all of a sudden the nova occurs and I go on a website and I look up, oh, there's somebody using that location, They've already got a permit approved. I can't barge in on them and have, a bunch of telescopes set up, even though it would draw more people to their event. So my contact gave me a place where I can go look up the approved special use permits. But then there was another issue raised, which is you won't find a special use permit for it. It's the annual Fort Lauderdale Boat Show. The particular site that I wanted to use is a giant open field near Fort Lauderdale Beach, and that's where they do setup for equipment and boats and stuff. So I would not be allowed to use it during that period. Okay, what do I do? Well, my contact gave me another location I could use during the boat show. It all sounded wonderful. I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. So far, it hasn't dropped. So far, so good. Here's the two sites. They're both near Fort Lauderdale Beach and what the Fort Lauderdale Tourism Bureau has identified as the Loop, Fort Lauderdale Beach. It's a bunch of parks, restaurants, hotels, parking facilities, all right there near Las Olas and the beach. For large events at the Las Olas Oceanside Park, which is just to the east of where one of these locations is, they have permanent public restrooms. There are lots of restaurants nearby, so if you want to eat before or after, great for both the public and the people setting up the telescopes. There's lots of nearby paid parking, and they're on the pay-by-phone parking system, so they're all the same rate, which I think is $1.50 an hour. And there's both street-level lots, a couple of them, and there's a multiple-story parking garage. Yes, there is local light pollution. Yes, a tall hotel building is an obstruction, but I've done public events at worse sites. So the first site, the one I originally asked for, was the Las Olas Intracoastal Promenade Park, also known more simply as the South Intracoastal Park. And there's the address for it. It is a large, open, grassed space, 2.5 acres. There is some loading zone parking, limited time period, and there's a small amount of street level parking that's adjacent to the park. It's open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. And maybe if we're doing an event there, we could beg forgiveness to be there a little later if we need to be, but probably not midnight plus. Curiously enough, adjacent to the park, there is a water taxi stop. It's F7. So maybe having the water taxi operations nearby will give us a greater public head count. And like I said, it's unavailable during the boat show window, which is September through November. Now, the setup period is mid-September through mid-November, but the first thing you have to do is prep the setup site. So it's more like, just give them all of September through November. So if it's during the boat show window, where do we go? My contact said, try the Rooftop. I said, the Rooftop where? The Las Olas Beach Parking Garage. And I've got pictures to show you. The parking garage has this place that is actually known as the Rooftop. It's a party area. They have events up there. And the parking garage is open 24/7. And since this is the top deck of the parking garage, you have access to it 24/7, which means we might be able to see morning comets, late afternoon comets, because at 5 stories up, you're looking down over the western horizon. So maybe you get to see early and late comets and morning and evening stars. Now, given that you're several stories up, you're above the street level light pollution. You still have some tall hotel buildings, which are obstructions. And unless there is a conflicting special use permit, there's not going to be a lot going on there, not a lot of parking on the top deck, because normally during the day, people don't want their car baked in the sun. But as soon as the sun starts to set, that'll leave a lot of parking spots close up to where you can set up your scope for easy, setup and teardown. So here's the two sites. This is a picture of kind of the middle of Fort Lauderdale Beach. You can see Las Olas Boulevard cutting through the center of it. One site is just south of Las Olas and west of the beach. That's the South Intracoastal Park. You can see that it's kind of a couple of streets going through there, but that's old imagery as far as the streets go. There's no streets in the middle of it anymore. Those were removed. So it's just a 2.5 acre large grassed area. I guess you could play, like soccer and volleyball and things like that there, but there's no permanent courts. And then to the north of Las Olas, there is Las Olas Beach Garage. I think it's about 5 stories. And the top of it, that little green rectangular area, is called the Rooftop. And then down below it, they're building some kind of new hotel below where Intracoastal Park is. And then further down, the turquoise areas, that's the Swimming Hall of Fame's pools. And then off to the right, to the east, that's another giant event park. And there's an outdoor amphitheater you see down at the bottom there in that park. And I didn't want to use that park because they do have a lot of large turnout events there. And the grassy area just to the north of the amphitheater, that's that white sort of thing with the, looks like speaker edges on it. The grassed area is actually a rising hill. So they don't have a set of stadium seats there. You just sort of park your butt in the grass, bring a blanket. So that's the two sites. Here they are up close. And I got this picture off the Broward County Property Appraisers website. And whether you know it or not, property appraisers that support GIS websites that allow you to go look up aerial views of things, they have to update those things once a year in the state of Florida. So that's the current picture. You can see in the lower left, a water taxi stop. It's just like a dock with some buildings. They even have a restroom in there. Down the bottom, there's a little loading zone area. I guess that's for the hotel that's to the south. And then over on the right, there's room for maybe 8 cars. I guess you could get there early and do your setup parking. You have to pay for that parking. It's just a large open field. The parking garage is, that street at the top is Las Olas. So there's actually a walkway underneath Las Olas that will take you to the parking garage. So you can park in the garage and then without trying to get yourself killed walking across Las Olas, which is a busy street, come underneath. Here's the garage. It's a very pretty garage. It has palm trees on the roof. The large green area at one time was AstroTurf. I don't know if it's still AstroTurf or it's some kind of prescription turf that costs more money to maintain. It's kind of a landscaped area. And then the rest of that white giant rectangle is all flat cement. And if there's no other events going on, you have drive-up access on both sides of the top deck. So you can park really close to where you want to set up and move your equipment up there. At the south end of the garage, there is a party room and some bathrooms. When Helen and I were looking at this site, more than a year ago, those were locked. If you're doing special use permit event up on the rooftop, then they'll probably have the bathrooms unlocked. But since we're not doing a special use permit, they probably won't be unlocked. But you can go down to the first floor and over to the beach parking, the beach park, and there's public restrooms there. So it's taken me 5 years to locate cost-effective, public, astronomical, ad hoc event observing sites. And now I think we have 2. We're going to have to do a dress rehearsal, a dry run, just, during a full moon or something, just go set up some scopes. If there's no special use permit conflict, do it at the grassy area first, the 2.6 acres park site. Do it there first to see what kind of public you draw. But as far as getting away from city lights and setting up parking and such, the rooftop would probably be the best one for a large scale event. But at least as of now, if there is an ad hoc event like the Nova of T Corona Borealis, we have a site. If the Nova does occur and we send out invites through our social media contacts, I'm going to include my city parks contact. And I also have the Fort Lauderdale Tourism Bureau contact. I didn't engage that contact for this, but let the parks contact know that if an event occurs, it might be good for tourism to say, hey, Fort Lauderdale was prepared to do it, but we'll see when it occurs. I'm thinking it'll be October, November of this year. Otherwise, that 80-year recurring is more than 80 years by 2 years, and that's overdue. And then you can learn about the loop on Fort Lauderdale Beach and the 2 different sites. Comments? Questions? I've been shuffling all the different tiles to see what comes up best. And I think this open grassy area near the beach, probably going to have a lot of light pollution, probably going to have some tall buildings in the way of things like Polaris, because I know there's a 23-story tall hotel that's to the north of there, like 3 blocks away, but 3 blocks and 23 stories means Polaris is still obscured. If you've got one of these smart scopes that requires direct observing of Polaris, probably not going to work for you. But since I've got one that works off of GPS, I don't have a problem. So yeah, getting up higher. When Helen and I were there over a year ago, the street lights, the street level lights, the tops of them don't get as high as the top deck of the parking garage. So the top deck of the parking garage is actually ambient, a little darker than street level would be. I was only going to ask for the Intracoastal Park, South Intracoastal Park. And when my contact said, well, you can't do it during the boat show, but during the boat show, why don't you just use the loop up on top of the parking garage? Okay. I don't get access to the party room, but
Okay, tomorrow the supernova explodes, okay?
okay.
No, now it's on its way. You know it's on the way because somebody texts you and say, "Oh, we see a blip. We're not sure, but you figure it out. It is the real thing, and it's
Hmm.
coming." Now, I don't know how long of a period you have from the time it explodes to the time it's going to show up in our atmosphere. And that's my second question. Okay, now we have it coming towards us. It's going to get to the atmosphere. You got to get prepared to go to this place that you have spent great time to get 5 years. You have been very dedicated. Thank you very much. So now it's in the sky. We all can see it's there, but also the news is now blastering us with, did you know about this? It's a shock to us. We didn't know it was coming. It's here now. And what are we going to do? And who needs to go where? And so now you have publicity, and we have a lot of people here in Fort Lauderdale. I'm wondering if you're thinking along the lines that maybe we will have a lot of people showing up for this event, and it's going to be over a couple days. It's not a one time deal, or maybe you're making it a one time deal. And I don't know, once I get there, okay, now I've been seeing it in the sky. The sky's all lit up and beautiful, I gather, from what I imagine. It's going to be a surreal event. We will not have seen anything like it before. And we're going to be saying, okay, now we're going to go to the garage top. What are we going to be looking for when we look out? And are we going to be able to look out? Because this is going to be a bright event, right? It's going to be bright. It's not like this isn't like a dim thing that we're going to be seeing.
First is, how do I know that such an event has occurred? There are two events, one that's probably going to happen later this year, otherwise it'll be way overdue. And the other one's going to happen when you least expect it. The one that's going to happen later this year is the nova of T Corona Borealis. You've got a white dwarf and you've got a red supergiant, and the white dwarf is sucking material off the red supergiant, and it forms a hydrogen shell around the white dwarf. And when it gets compressed to the point of fusion, that hydrogen shell will detonate. When it detonates, that will produce a bright object in the sky. It will not be the brightest thing in the night sky. It will be very bright. It will not be as bright as Venus. It will not be as bright as Sirius, which is the brightest in the northern hemisphere. It'll be a little dimmer than Sirius. If you didn't hear any media contact on it, you wouldn't even notice it in the sky. But if you are used to looking in that part of the sky, you will notice that there's something naked eye visible there now that there didn't used to be. And about 3 to 4 days later, it will no longer be naked eye visible. So the nova goes pop, and the first thing to exit the nova will be neutrino. The neutrinos will arrive a little less than 24 hours before the visual light. I have contacts within the NASA Global Communications Network that are already on a daily basis sending me tons of emails about gamma ray bursts and X-ray events and gamma ray events and neutrino events from the IceCube in Antarctica. I've written software that runs in Outlook, and what it does is it looks at every one of these emails. If it says, hey, I'm an event from IceCube, and I've detected a nova by way of its neutrinos, and here's the coordinates of it. And my software looks like in a general area around where T Corona Borealis and Alpha Orionis, also known as Betelgeuse, are located. And if in that general area of the sky, because they can be a little off, if in that general area of the sky, either one of those is detected, the software will go, it happened. At that point, the clock starts, and I have less than 24 hours to reach out to all my contacts, email, text, social media, not just here in Fort Lauderdale, but all over, because I've got contacts in Ames, Iowa, because I've interacted with their astronomy group. I've got now a contact in Chicago, obviously Southern Cross down in Miami, SFAA here, the Palm Beach group. Not that they need to come to our event, but guys, go do your own thing, because it's happening now. that notification will occur probably a day to a day and a half before the public news media catches wind of it. Unless you have some real sciencey people in these news media rooms that are tied into the GCN notification network like I am, and know that you need to look for neutrinos coming from IceCube that are in the direction of T Corona Borealis or Betelgeuse. When I start promoting it, like 24 hours or so after I start promoting it, will be when we're observing. But I have to make sure that that site that we want to observe from, and preferably it would be the rooftop. But if we can't get the rooftop because there's an event, okay, we'll go down to it in the park. If we can't get the park and we can't get the rooftop, beg that Fox Observatory will be open for a special event. You know, I still have email contacts that I can reach out to and they may be completely oblivious to the fact that it happened, but they'll recognize it once I tell them it's happened. Here's the email that says it happened. Guys, kick it off. So we will stage an observing event either at the two sites that I've arranged or hopefully Fox Observatory, or they may do their own at Fox Observatory in parallel. The general public will catch wind of it by way of me reaching out to Parks Department, tourism bureaus, other organizations, and they can do whatever promotion they want to. Just realize that all of the stuff for their governmental agencies are outsourced, which means they can't just go plop something on their public website. They've got to go through budgeting and administrative approval, and then their webmaster has to get the request for work and what they want it to look like and how they want it to, you know, splashy graphics, and that could take 2-3 days by itself, at which point the nova will have gone from bright enough to see naked eye to no longer bright enough to see naked eye. So that's how we scoop them. Even though you can't see it naked eye anymore, you'll still be able to see it with a reasonable personal telescope for about 30 days, that it's there and it's brighter than it used to be, because it's normally about magnitude 16 plus, so you can't see it with a small telescope. But when it goes nova, even after it goes too dim to see naked eye, you're still going to see it until it's probably about magnitude 10. So you're going to be able to see it through a telescope for a few days to better part of a month. But after that, you just won't see it in the sky anymore unless you're on a mountaintop observatory somewhere. If it happens to be the supernova of Betelgeuse, Alpha Orionis, the brightest star in the constellation Orion the Hunter, and it's a super giant red star, when it goes supernova, it is expected to be bright enough to see in the daytime for a few days when it occurs.
Right, yeah.
Now, maybe for a few days. After that, it will be bright enough to see naked eye at night for maybe the better part of a month.
Wow.
After that, it will dim down very rapidly, more rapidly than the nova did. But what it will do is the planetary nebula, the like expulsion material from the supernova, will give you something that looks kind of like the Ring Nebula. And that will be up in the sky for you to observe with an amateur telescope for the rest of your life, even if you're a youngster, because that's a scar on the night sky. It's a planetary nebula. You used to see a big bright red star there. Now you see like the donut left from the red star and a little tiny white dwarf in the center of it. These are going to be things that aspects of them you're only going to see for a short period of time in the right environment with the right instruments. In the case of T Corona Borealis, it'll go back to being a nothing within a month. In the case of Betelgeuse, whenever it happens, and we have no idea, is it going to happen tomorrow or 400 years from now? Some number in between, probably. When that one occurs, that's going to leave a mark on the night sky for days in the daytime, and then for a number of evenings, naked eye, for a better part of a month, naked eye. And then after that, it will be an easy telescope, fascinating sight for the rest of your life. And you can say, the supernova of Betelgeuse happened in my lifetime.
Yeah.
So it is one of those once in a lifetime viewings. And in the case of T Corona Borealis, which happens about every 78 to 80 years, it happening now means, yeah, it's a once in a lifetime for us.
So you're setting up these sites for people to come to,
Yep.
and now the one they need to have a telescope. The first one you
No,
mentioned.
no, no. Members of the public do not need to have a telescope. I'm going to corral as many of my friends that have telescopes to, hey, I've got the site. I'm staging the event. I'm promoting it. I made the arrangements where we don't need, liability insurance. Come on out.
Right. So when you look through the telescope,
Mhm.
what are you going to be seeing through the telescope?
In the case of T Corona Borealis, it'll be a bright blue-white star, and then it'll become a grayish-white star, and then it'll just become a dim white star, and then you won't be able to see it anymore. In the case of Betelgeuse, it will be, you don't need a telescope for a while after it occurs because you can see it in the daytime.
But people will want to come down to see what's going on, right?
It'll freak the hell out of people.
Right.
If Betelgeuse goes off, it's going to be, what in the hell is that? Is the sun? Well, the sun's over there. What is that thing? What blew up?
And is it going to be dangerous to everybody? That's
No.
one of the things that people will fear.
The fear will be the danger. The supernova itself is about 400 plus light years away. The radiation from it, if it occurs, by the time we can see it, any persistent radiation will have already hit the Earth. I doubt we'll even notice it in the aurora.
And
it's
then
that far away.
Neutrinos will be coming from both of these.
Neutrinos come from novas and supernovas.
So both of them will.
I will expect an IceCube alert on the NASA GCN network email list the moment that it happens.
Neutrino reaction to us, we won't feel it. We won't know.
No. There's millions of neutrinos passing through you right now, and you don't feel it.
Right, but this is like a surge. It's something different. So, but
you still won't feel it.
Any difference?
You still won't feel it. You have to have something like a neutrino detector array, like is in Chicago outside of Fermi Labs, or the one in Japan, or the one in Mexico, or the one in the Antarctic. You have to have a serious, very expensive neutrino detector, and you have to have a detector that has a large number of detector nodes in it. And the reason why you need that is when the neutrinos pass through, think of it like a giant cube full of individual dots that are the sensors. When the neutrinos pass through and you detect their effect, you'll detect them going across your cube of sensors, and the direction that the detection moves tells you what direction the neutrinos were coming from. That gives you your coordinates in space. And neutrinos can pass through the Earth. So you're not necessarily looking for neutrinos coming from the sky down to the Earth. They could be coming from the far side of the Earth, up through the Earth through the detector.
So now where are these neutrinos heading towards? What will be their end results of these neutrinos? I mean,
wherever they go.
Do they have an ending point where they stop and say,
not to our
this place grow or something?
Not to our knowledge. Photons interact with atoms, and therefore they have a limited lifespan. Things get in the way. In the case of neutrinos, you don't actually detect neutrinos directly. You detect the indirect effect of the neutrinos. There's an effect that produces this nearly ultraviolet burst of light from the shock wave of material that's basically being slowed down by the neutrino, but the neutrino keeps going. And that weird one-of-a-kind blue color is how they detect neutrinos.
And neutrinos are like, I gather, are part of the, I'm not saying that it is, part of the dark matter that they talk about, which we don't know. It's not dark, but
no. Neutrinos are just another one of the particles in the standard table of particles. They are weakly interacting particles. There's 3 different kinds. There's electron, muon, and tau neutrinos.
So I mean, we talk about neutrinos now all the time in the news. I hear them in science news and regular news. They talk about neutrinos. How are they affecting us? Are they affecting us?
They aren't. Like I said, thousands of them are passing through you right now.
So why are we interested in them? I mean, we're spending lots of money to research them.
because they're a precursor to very high energy celestial events like novas and supernovas, like
Okay.
colliding black holes. They produce a lot of energy and they will hit you about 20 some hours before the actual light arrives. So they're a precursor warning. So it's kind of like if you're driving a modern car and you have blindside detection as part of the electronics in the car, you put on your turn signal, you don't see the car that's in your blind spot, but on your dash it says, don't turn left. I know you want to turn
Yeah.
left. Don't,
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
car there. So it's a precursor. It's a warning that something is going to happen. Well, in the case of neutrinos, it's a warning that a very high energy celestial event has occurred. You just haven't seen it yet.
And all this energy, we're not going to be affected by it.
Nope.
We're going to see it in the sky for
Nope.
the rest of
Nope.
the night.
No.
Some,
You will not see the neutrinos.
no, not, but the fact you're saying that the neutrinos are announcing that this high
Yes.
is
Yes.
coming.
About 20. Yes, about 20 hours later, you will see the normal light from the nova or supernova.
You don't expect traffic jams. I expect traffic jams with the one that lights up the sky.
Yes, when Betelgeuse goes bang, there will be fear and panic throughout the world.
Yes.
When I was answering the phone calls and emails for Fox Observatory, whenever Canopus, which is a very bright star towards the southern horizon, whenever Canopus was naked eye visible, because it's so low to the horizon, it flashes multiple colors due to the intense light from the star passing through the heat waves of the Earth's atmosphere. And so you would see this thing that's not moving and it's on the horizon and it's going red, green, blue, blue, green, red, blue, green. Is that a UFO? No, it's only Canopus. People would contact law enforcement and they would contact the Parks Department because the Parks Department has an observatory at Markham Park. And Markham's administrator would contact me and say, could you please explain it to this guy? So as law enforcement, he can explain it to the guy that's freaking out.
Yeah.
So yeah,
you're looking at this event's going to be multifaceted as to what issues we'll be thinking about, like looking at it and
yes.
getting people to it, but also calming people down.
Yes. Now, in the case of T Corona Borealis, it won't be so earth shattering. And it's far enough away. I think it's about 43 light years away that it's not going to cause us any problems. I think what will happen is I'll know that the nova has gone off, TCRB's nova has gone off. I'll inform all my contacts and then I'll stage the event. And then the day after I do that, the media will catch on to it, not from me, but just from NASA and places like that, stool pigeons that they are. They'll start to promote it. And then people will want to know. And, government agencies will contact Fox Observatory who will go, yeah, I don't know anything about it. There's a nova going on. Then they'll reach out to their alternate contacts, which maybe will include me. And then I'll say, hey, here's a YouTube video we did a year and a half ago. Go watch that. And then once they post this video, here's the site you can go to. I'm as prepared as I can be. And I will reach out to all the other astronomy groups that I connect with to let them know it's happening. In the case of Betelgeuse, it'll be like, I don't have to tell you it's happening. You can see it in the daytime.
I'm wondering, how are we going to be able to assist you during this time if we don't have a telescope?
Crowd control. Come out and look.
That's what I'm thinking.
Come out and take a look-see. You'll enjoy it. Talk to people.
And tell them, don't block the road here.
Yeah, no. You won't be able to do it to that level. It'll be like, no, the line forms here.
Yeah, hurry.
Yes. And when I contact my contact at the Parks Department, if I get my Raspberry Pi 5 over here up and running as my telescope camera, I'm going to offer up to the Parks Department. I know you've got a big screen display at the park that's just to the east, where the amphitheater is. You've got a big screen display there. I'm going to put out a stronger Wi-Fi signal than I would normally do. If you want to tap a web browser into your promotion computer to pick up what the telescope is currently seeing and put it up on the big screen, that's all on you. You can do that if you want to. Yeah.
So you're thinking this is going to be a nighttime event that you're going to be, setting up for.
T Corona Borealis will definitely be a nighttime event. Betelgeuse will be big time daytime.
And I think in the Betelgeuse one is where you're going to need more help than I think the one that people can't see.
If Betelgeuse goes off, I'll have no end of governmental organization trying to help me.
Oh, you think so then? Okay. So
yes.
You send out a text to all of us, an email. We all happen to be available and we say, Monroe, what can we do to help you?
Just come out, talk to the public, reassure them that the Earth is not coming to an end. Let them know, okay, I've got a telescope. Helen has a telescope. Hopefully she can get off from mods for this. The lines form here. You have to stand in line.
So we have to find you to find out where the line that we tell people to go to is.
I'll tell you where the line starts, and then you just keep people in line, as opposed to a big wedge crowd standing next to the telescope.
Yeah. I tend to think there's going to be a lot of turnout for the one
for Betelgeuse, the turnout will be thousands. For T Corona Borealis, 50 to 100, I'm guessing.
Now, you don't have space for 1,000 people, though.
No, I don't. That's why I say, if Betelgeuse goes off, they'll be contacting me. What do you need? Where do we want to do this? What?
So what will you say? They contact you and say, I need a football field, right?
No, I'll say, I would like the top of the parking garage next to the Performing Arts Center.
That's the one you already have scheduled?
No, this is over by mods.
Oh, okay. This is a bigger one?
There's a 6-story parking garage there that's much larger. It just has parking spaces, and it's got a lot of floodlights on the top deck. And I'll say, tell you what we're going to do. I don't want a special use permit. You guys host it. I'll just be there to provide telescope. And you guys manage it. So,
and you guys turn on
the city of Fort Lauderdale, you do your magical thing. I want it to take place on the top deck of that parking garage because it has the best view. It's centrally located. There's a parking garage. You can bring in roach coaches, along the bottom of it. You can get mods involved. You can have an astrophysicist speaker that you bring in for ticket money at the Performing Arts Center. I've got a long list of things that you can do.
So when they call you, you're ready.
Absolutely. Is there anything else before I stop recording? Hearing nothing.